Good evening. Welcome to the November 25th Lebanon Board of Works meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move on to the roll call members. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mayor Gentry.
Here.
Becky McClure. Bill Stoner.
Present.
Dick Robertson.
Here.
Alan Milburn.
Present.
Okay, and I don't think we had the minutes. Yeah, so we'll get those in our next meeting. So we'll start with department head reports. First up will be Police Department, Major Hood.
Good evening. In the time since the last department report, the Lebanon Police Department has responded to 623 calls for service, investigated 41 vehicle crashes, and effected 18 arrests. Those arrests were for the following charges: 6 for operating while intoxicated, 4 wanted on warrants, 3 resisting law enforcement, 3 for theft, 1 intimidation, and 1 domestic battery. In training, Sergeant James Kuntz conducted wet lab training for LPD and other area officers. Volunteers from the Boone County Prosecutor's Office agreed to consume alcoholic beverages in a controlled environment in order to train officers on their standardized field sobriety techniques. The volunteers were then fed and provided with a safe ride home on completion of the training. Pending your questions, this concludes my report.
Any questions for Major Hood other than how to participate next year? No. Okay. Anything for public? Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, next will be Fire Department. Deputy Chief Hendricks.
Good evening. Since last Board of Public Works and Safety meeting, Lebanon Fire has responded to 125 emergency calls for service, logged 306 training hours, completed 23 commercial inspections, and participated in 2 TAC meetings. November 10th through the 15th, our Fire Inspector Mark Brown attended the National Fire Academy in Maryland and completed the course Fire Inspection Principles 1. This 6-day fundamental level course introduces fire inspectors to the fundamental methodology for application of fire and life safety codes and standards. The course contains many of the basic principles of code enforcement. More experienced code inspectors and officials might find it useful for review of essential methodologies and useful update to current code enforcement applications. The City of Lebanon Fire Department is offering a free car seat clinic on December 5th, 2024 from 1 to 3 p.m. at Station 11, 975 Lasley Drive. We are beginning to certify new car seat technicians to assist the community. The new techs will need to have their skills checked off and evaluated. We are in need of families that need their car seats checked for safety or who are in need of new car seat installations. Please contact us at 765-482-8827 to register for this event. That's all I have.
Thank you, Hendricks. Any questions from the board? From the public? Thank you, sir. All right, next will be Parks and Recreation. John Messenger.
Evening. Didn't jump up there this time, did I? Playgrounds are being installed in Memorial and Abner Longley Park. Abner's playground should be completed possibly tomorrow, but it'll be before Thanksgiving. Of course, the weather is changing, but yeah, they're doing a real nice job. Really like that playground. The musical playground at Memorial Park was started this weekend, and it'll probably be the first week of December, but that's Taylor O'Brien is working. That's his Eagle Scout project. And they're, again, really nice. He came up with the funds, and him and his dad and a few of his buddies are doing that, or scouts, and real proud of him. There again at Abner Longley, that was Kiwanis that put up quite a bit of money for that. Can't thank them enough. They'll be installing the mulch at the end of the project. We got to put 12 inches of mulch to make sure it's safe, and they'll be doing that. Utility work has started at Reese Park. Probably see some big vehicles out there, equipment. There again, they're putting their lift station and they're going to finalize it. They should be out of there by March. I'm meeting with Damon Crease tomorrow night, I think, to show them what all they're doing. Going to make some parking area there a little bit to the left of the shelter that'll help them out quite a bit. The overload that they have. So rather than running through the Eagles, that'll make that nice. But the crew from the utilities done a nice job with communicating, and they do a nice job, but they'll have it all leveled out. I think John George is going to seed it for them and look real nice and that'll be ready for their spring. Our December Park Board meeting has been moved from December 4th to the 11th at 7 p.m. Due to quorum problems. Programs and events, the Boys and Girls Club Boone County is hosting their 8th annual El Gravy Chase. I think that's through Zionsville, and they also do that. They're doing it Thanksgiving morning. The race starts at 8:30 a.m. and will start and finish in Memorial Park. That's something that we're excited about. There are quite a few runners there. Our 2024 Christmas in the Cabin and Christmas Parade will take place on Saturday, December 7th. Come anytime between 9:30 and 12:30 to visit with Santa. Enjoy some cookies. We tried those out. They're really good. So just letting you know. And some hot chocolate and make a craft. The Christmas Parade will start at 6 p.m. Kids rides filled up extremely fast again this year, so they are sold out. Love being able to provide this opportunity to the city of Lebanon for being able to provide the opportunity for City of Lebanon for free. Thank you to our carriage ride sponsors, Home National Bank, Lebanon Parks Foundation, First Farmers Bank and Trust. Also want to thank all the departments that came out. We had a safety meeting. That's first and foremost for this parade. It's dark. We have over 35 entries, which we're pretty excited, the biggest yet. Mayor, I think you're going to be in the parade, I hope. Again, I'm sure you are.
Back of a truck.
Back of the truck. I think Tammy Richardson's going to be with you. Joe's done a great job of communicating, and I want to thank Radio Mom 91.1. Scott Carney's going to be play-by-play at the downtown and let us all know, and really looking forward to him. Radio Mom's a great asset, and Scott Carney's the best. So just wanted to let everybody come down, and Santa will jump off, and there again, we'll pick a child out of the crowd and light up the tree. So we're looking forward to that. And that's all I had.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John from the board? From the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next will be Engineering Department, Kim Krulik.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Update you on a few projects around the city that we've had some recent changes on. Let's start off with Grant Street Phase 1. The project is essentially complete. The only update is to let you know that we've received our final invoice from NDOT. This will go before City Council because this will be a funding request. Unfortunately, prior correspondence with NDOT had us prepared to pay about $100,000 bill at the end of the project. And that bill is now ballooned up to almost $400,000. So again, we'll take that before council because that would be an appropriation level decision that would have to be made. But essentially, as we were working with our consultants and working with our representatives at NDOT all along, the various change orders that came up, various quantity overruns, various conditions in the field that required adjustments to our design and rightfully so required the contractor to bear some additional expense that was passed through to us. We were told those would all be participating change orders that would be covered at 80% by the state and 20% by us. And I've learned a valuable lesson that until NDOT central office is signed on that, that doesn't really mean anything, that the local district has told us that those are participating items. So again, apologize for the issues there that have came up, but we will get through that. And we think we have a way forward on the funding mechanism. Grant Street Phase 2, also another NDOT project. We have sent our draft RFP for inspection services to NDOT for their review before we can issue that request for proposals and choose our inspection consultant. As of last week, we submitted Stage 3 plans to NDOT. We submitted our 401 Regional General Permit Notice to IDEM. We've submitted our engineer's assessment and design exceptions, our pavement design, all of the proper documentation to have us set up for letting in July of 25. All that has went into NDOT and we're moving that forward I do want to remind everyone that there will be an anticipated funding need once that project is let in July of approximately $730,000. So we're working towards that next summer, which will be here before you know it. The Elizaville Road project, happy to report that all the drainage work is now complete. We've also temporarily replaced driveways, driveway approaches more appropriately. Final driveway repairs will be put off till the spring. It's just too late in the year with potential winter coming and the chemicals that are used during that time is just too harsh on concrete. So we're going to hold off till the spring when we know we can generate some quality work that will be more easily warranted for those homeowners. The Riley Road project, just one small update. We've signed a contract for property corner monumentation. That'll be done here in the next couple of weeks. Fordyce Street, a lot of things going on over on Fordyce Road, Fordyce Street. We have completed stone and under drains on the east half of the project. You're probably aware that we had previously completed curbs, under drains, stone on the west half. We've also poured all the sidewalks on the west half, and we started paving the west half over the weekend, including paving work on Sunday. So on the west half, that is essentially curbs, sidewalks, drive approaches, and asphalt up to the intermediate layer have been completed. We are working on curbs on the east half of the project, and we should be wrapping up curbs this week, pouring curbs today, tomorrow, Wednesday, before we get to the holiday break. And then we'll return after the holiday with asphalt on the east side, as well as then followed by drive approaches, sidewalks, all the concrete work on the east side. And then we will fall back probably the week of December 16th for asphalt surface on the entire project. So a lot going on still at Fordyce and doing all we can to get in front of the weather. On the Witt Road project, we are awaiting NDOT approval on our design amendment and issuance of our purchase order and notice to proceed related to right-of-way buying. But though at this point, we're really working on all of our environmental documents. Those are on a pace to be completed in April of next year. Once those are complete, then we'll enter into the right-of-way buying phase, which would be in May of next year. And that's when the programming is set forth from NDOT for that funding. Keep in mind, the letting for this project is not till 2026. So it's a year after the Grant Street projects. Noble Street project, it's even further out, not scheduled for letting till 2029. And we are set to have our kickoff meeting with our design consultants on Tuesday next week to move that project forward. 180 makeover program. Only update really is to let you know that Oaks on Main contracts have been executed, and we are trying to schedule after the holiday the kickoff meeting for that HVAC contractor and issue their notice to proceed. The remaining 180 program projects, the Lido building, the Collier's Corner, Eichmann Exchange, all that work is under various phases of project development and design at this point, but we hope to be bidding those things in early 2025. Let's see. Park projects, the fishing pier project. Later in the meeting, I'll provide you with the results from the railings for the ADA walk and ramp system down to the fishing pier. And really the only thing left to do on that is just some backfilling, grading, and seeding, which will really probably be primarily spring work. The Big Four Trailhead, happy to report the portalet enclosure is expected to be completed by December 3rd. Parking improvements for that project are to be done in the spring. We then look at Reese Park. This week, we should wrap up the park fencing along the parking areas, as well as that portalet enclosure. Then we have two more portalet enclosures at the dog park and hot pond sites that are scheduled to be completed by the 13th of December. And then we have also put out an invitation to quote for the first phase of the perimeter pathway system around Abner Longley Park that will be back in front of you on December 9th. Let's see, DPW projects, Anderson Lane, the reflective delineators really wrapped up today. So other than some minor punch list work, that project is nearing its completion. And we have our eyes set on the 2025 resurfacing program, and that project is out on the street for bidding right now, and those bids are due on December 9th. Last but certainly not least, the LEAP District projects. A lot of good work has happened in the last couple of days. On Witt Road South, all the curbs are complete and all the asphalt pavement is complete through the intermediate level. And then on 375 and 450 North, the CSX has completed their track work. So this is just the rails and the immediate surface up to the crossing. Milestone has completed all that HMA surfacing up to those crossings, and those crossings are now back to soft closures, so emergency access and vehicles, if they need to, can get through there. But the soft closure will remain in place until CSX comes back in the spring. It won't be till spring till they come back to put in their crossing arms and fully complete those projects. But for right now, the pavement is up to finished grade and they are passable. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Kevin. Question, Al?
Quick question, Kevin, on Fordyce.
Yes.
I know they got the first layer there on the west toward Grant. Is that going to be, is this still going to be closed with the weather and everything that we've got as it has been? Or is it going to get opened up down to Cedar Ridge or on the Morningside here sometime soon? Or
We're going to leave it with that soft closure as it is now for local traffic only until we get to surfacing.
So if we get the surface down by the end of the year, we might have it.
If we get the surface down by the end of the year, they plan to open it up and turn it over to us.
that can be iffy with weather.
It's always iffy this time of year, but you know they're using every day they can. Again, they put crews to work laying asphalt on Sunday, and they're continuing to squeeze every minute that the weather will allow.
Heavy out there Sunday.
Yeah.
So, we weren't scheduled to have that done until August. So, we're pretty far. Is that the whole project with
Correct.
the trees?
The
all that?
entire project completion date is August 1st of next year. And that's to try to be ready for when the school opens. But we are on track, at least east of Grant Street, to have all that done in the next, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then really the work next year would be the work west of Grant Street, which is a much less complex project that is more sidewalks, asphalt path, curbs, wedge and level. It's not a full depth reconstruction of the road. There's not a lot of utility work, at least public utility work involved in that phase of the project because the storm sewer, sanitary and water are all recently have been upgraded. So there's just primarily asphalt surface, curbs, sidewalks. There are a lot of private utility work that is wrapping up. You've probably seen the Miller pipeline people out there replacing gas services and things of that nature. But that project is also wrapping up on the private side.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kevin from the board? From the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next will be Planning Department, Ben Bontrager.
Evening, board members. Since the last Board of Works meeting, the planning department continues to be busy. Completed 34 building inspections and issued 32 permits, with one of those being a new single-family residential permit. So still seeing some activity, although we are definitely starting to see a little bit of the wintertime slowdown. Also continue to see permits issued on commercial industrial projects as well. So still seeing great activity across the board there, and also having a lot of things come in through the Planning Commission right now. So we anticipate a very busy spring and summer going into that construction season as well. Continuing education, Christy and Makeda were able to attend the OKI Regional Planning Conference last week in Fort Wayne. And that is a conference that brings together planning professionals from Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana every couple of years to talk about trends and projects that are happening in our region, and also an opportunity to interact with fellow planners from throughout the region as well. So a good opportunity for them to get connected with some of those folks and hear about what's happening throughout our region. On the staff side, and I think Kevin mentioned last meeting that he had hired Zach from the planning department to fill his project manager position, which left the planning department with a building inspector position to fill. We did get a lead on a potential candidate and had a chance to interview him a couple of times over the last few weeks. And happy to report that Craig Stevens has accepted a position as our building inspector and will be starting here in about a week and a half. Looking forward to getting him on board. Wintertime's a good time to start as a building inspector when it's a little less busy. So you have an opportunity to kind of get your feet wet a little bit, figure out how things work. He does have some good background on the inspection side already anyway. So expect him to get up to speed really quickly and looking forward to have him on board. Code enforcement sides, still seeing a lot of activity there in terms of just actual activities that have taken place over the last couple of weeks, 74 total investigative activities, a lot of courtesy notices being sent out, a lot of citations being sent out as well. And then on new case side, again, 46 new cases over the last couple of weeks. So even though, again, we're out of grass and weed season, there's still plenty of things taking place in terms of junk vehicles, parking violations, RVs, et cetera. So again, keeping our code enforcement staff very busy as well as we head into the end of the year. That's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions for Ben from the board? For the public? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, next will be Public Works Department. Jason Lawson.
Good evening. Since our last meeting, we had our first winter weather event of the season and used 28 tons of salt. We replaced and repaired 3 street signs. We're still doing our citywide leaf removal. The stormwater department, they did some drainage repair at Dix and Green Street. They cleared storm drains from the rainfall, responded to 220 locates, and they assisted salting in the city streets. We're doing with the vacation times and things like that. So it's kind of taking all hands on deck. And then leaf season, we're going to kind of run through next week and just kind of play it by ear and see how things are. I'd say it'll probably be done. The inspections department, we did 6 SWIP inspections, 7 right-of-way inspections. And we have 5 active stormwater sites, and we fielded 1 complaint.
Questions for Jason from the board? So I did hear you had an interview last week.
I did. So yeah, Fox 59 interviewed me about the Fleet Pass snow plow tracker software. So that went well. I think it aired that night at 10 o'clock. So
did you want to kind of tell the public about what that was? I mean, I didn't see our Facebook post about it, all that.
yeah, so the mayor put me onto a new software. It's called Fleet Pass Snowplow Tracker. And what it does, it works off of our GPS, off of our trucks. And so Joe is able to throw a link up there whenever we're out salting and plowing, and it'll allow the public to go and they can hover a street and it'll tell them when that street was salted or plowed, what time, the date, and so on and so forth. It is on a 10-minute delay, for our safety, but
You just thought it'd be a good asset for the community with like, hey, when's my street been plowed? And especially when we get the really heavy snows that are, I said the word this time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, hey, you hit my street. Like, no, we did. We just, it's snowing a lot. So give us a minute. So
Been there, done that.
Yep. So
and if people get the hang of it, they can watch and, if they want to see when their street's going to be cleared to leave for work or whatever, they can.
Yep.
It's a good tool.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other questions for Jason? And thanks for doing the interview. I thought you'd be better to do that than me. So, all right.
Thanks.
Thanks, sir. All right. Next will be, last but not least, Communications and Community Development, Jill Page. Hope I didn't steal your thunder, Joe, on that. Sorry.
No, it's a great precursor. I'm actually going to take my little agenda out of order with your permission, Mr. Mayor. So in the communications department, our next Love in Lebanon podcast episode will feature Jason and Dave talking about the Fleet Path technology, how we're adding it to the website. And you can find that podcast where you find your podcast, iTunes and Google Play, all those places. So Jason and Dave join us, keeping tabs on city plow trucks. The link is on the city's webpage underneath the DPW tab, but it's also on the homepage as well, right by the weather. So if a snowy day is coming up, you can check the weather forecast. Track Our Trucks kind of went a little fun with the title. It's Winter Weather Truck Tracker is what it is. So it's not Fleet Path. It's kind of get a little fun with it. Elsewhere in the communications and community development department, hopefully you'll be noticing some leveling up, as we're calling it, in the event department. We're taking our kind of baseline where we've had our events that are recurring, repeating, and maybe moving them up a little bit to increase quality of life with our residents while also limiting redundancy. I know that's coming up. They're going to do this and this and this. We're changing some things up. As John kind of talked about, we are broadcasting the parade this year, the Christmas parade, live on Radio Mom. Scott Carney and Stacy Dempster from Lebanon, Merle Norman, also now of WLFI TV 18 in the morning. They'll be doing the kind of the play-by-play of the floats as they come downtown. That will be piped into the speakers. So for the folks that are down on our square, they can enjoy that, but it's also being simulcast on Radio Mom radio station as well. So if you are in one of our senior living facilities, if you are unable to make it, we have a lot of folks from out of town that still like to have the warm and touchy feelies of kind of the Hallmark movie that is our Christmas parade. You can see that on our Facebook Live. We'll be doing it, but also you can listen to it on Radio Mom. That's also simulcast online as well. Again, trying to increase the quality of life while limiting redundancy. We're also kind of employing that playbook to the Boone County Summerfest event for later on in 2025, working with a larger act for Saturday evening, one that you may have heard of and maybe be in the charts as we speak. And so leveling up the musical acts that come through our community, a lot of buzz for downtown Lebanon, and looking forward to having that. Also adding some other elements for your overall enjoyment. And so a very popular sport that is gaining traction will be able to be played downtown on our historic courthouse square and beyond. And so looking forward to adding those things. Also kind of something we're working on is Placer AI. You may remember we used part of the budget from the eclipse and all the buzz that we've had from that, utilizing that to help track some of the data and some of those folks that visit our community. Pass along information from those folks that attended Mischief on Meridian. Years past, it's been kind of a speculation. How many do we have? This year, 7,700 people, according to Placer AI, took part in the Mischief on Meridian event. That's well past what we forecasted in years past. So,
and that's just cell phones.
That's just cell phones. That's just cell phones. When you get on to your provider, do you mind if we track your location? You hit yes. That's those people. And so you're right. It's probably more than the 7,700, but that's what we have from Placer AI. And so, giving that to the folks of the heart of Lebanon, but also passing it along to Mason over the Bankers Life Fieldhouse. They were interested in trying to attract some other amenities for our city, and so able to pass along information from Mason. And I remember Andy Card, making some bold predictions about the number of people that would be visiting Lebanon on a monthly basis, or these big weekend events and things. We have firm data, and it wasn't that out of the realm that Andy passed along. Those numbers are legit. The people that are coming from all over are literally coming from all over the country to Lebanon, Indiana. And so we're tracking where they've come from and then where they're going, restaurants and different things they've gone to there. And then finally, we were adding another intern, as if one wasn't enough with Lauren Argate. We're adding Zara Smith, and she's a senior over at Western Boone High School. Their coordinator reached out, and she has kind of a marketing bend, but also really has a heart for law enforcement. And so she's wanted to get into public safety side of things. And so where Lauren is more ag, Zara, or Z, is more so into the public safety. And so tomorrow morning, she's teaming up with Chief Batts and the rest of the LFD team. And so doing some fire department training. She's going to get the turnout gear. She's getting fitted at 9 a.m. Going to go through the training tower, the H-box, the flashover chamber, and do a lot of those fun things, and then participate in a ride-along with the fire department. So she's really, to say she's geeked out about that is an understatement. And so looking forward to adding to both of those young ladies and whatever comes next for them. They're getting great experience here thanks to the city of Lebanon. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions for Joe from the board? From the public? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, that concludes what I have for department head reports. Move on to old business. There's nothing on my agenda. Anything from the board? Okay, new business then. First item up will be actually, do you mind if I do this out of order? We have a street closure request. That might be fastest. For 118 South Meridian Street from Jordan Moody. Sure. Yep.
Hello. Yeah. So 118 South Meridian Street, we are doing a major overhaul of that property and doing the front facade, blowing out the back, extending it. So we're doing a lot. So my request is there's 2 parking spaces right in front of the building that I would like to reserve during construction as we do that. I've been told with, weather, things like that, we don't know exactly how long it's going to take. So my request would be 4 months. And then my neighbor to the north of me, they just did their brick facade work. It's been about 6 months for them, but they use the alley a little bit as well. And so my secondary request would be if I could put a dumpster in that alley for a portion of that amount of time as well.
Questions on that? So again, this is the South Meridian Street block, so between Main Street and 32, and it's which exactly building? It's the one just south of the...
Yeah, it's the old Wall Jewelers building. It's the really tiny one between 124 North Market, which now I think has a State Farm, and then the one south of it is Michael North Home Builds. So we're that little building. So the front of my building, there's 2 spaces that split, and so if I just have those 2 spaces, I would have plenty of access. Another request was we're going to start on demolition of the facade as early as next week or the week after, and so we definitely want to close off that sidewalk just while we're doing the facade work for safety purposes. So that's that. And then the alley would be the alley to the north of 124 South Meridian Street, heading west towards 39. And again, that wouldn't be for the entire time, but just while I need a dumpster.
Any questions or concerns on that from the board? Okay, I would entertain a motion then to approve the parking closure as well as the alley usage as presented.
I make a motion, we approve the street closure request for 118 South Meridian Street as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second from Judge. All in favor, say aye.
Does that include the alley for
Yeah,
the?
yeah, because he
dumpster?
mentioned as you need to, yep. A motion, a second for discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that's approved. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
Excited to see what you'll do with that building. All right, now we'll do Major Hood, if that's all right. I figured his would be a little bit shorter than yours, so that's why I jumped in front of you.
Only 4 this time, so hopefully not too painful. I've got, of these 4 policies, the first 3 that I'm going to present to the board for approval are updates to Indiana accreditation standards, and the final policy will be a change in 2025 to the Indiana code. So just as soon as I can pop my screen up there. There we go. In training, what you just see here is some minor formatting changes in here, but I guess where the meat of it is we've specified supervisors and managers receive training appropriate to their position ranks within the 12 months of a promotion. Some gender pronoun changes on there, but the real section is we've added a career development piece to the policy. And this would be our training coordinator that would kind of drive that train on there, be able to monitor progress and make recommendations to who may be a better fit in what position, so.
Any questions? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, as I said.
Any questions on that policy change? Okay.
The next in Record Bureau, just a minor change once again. We had to specify that crime incidents had to include a bias and hate crime. So you'll see that information included in the policy update. And then a change when after hours access to certain records, the shift supervisor would be able to grant that access and not have it just be chief or authorized. We've kind of spelled that out a little better. And once again, we've had the additional end records with the juvenile and confidential. So that was it for this particular policy.
Question on that one? Come.
Use of force review boards. We'll see this phrase come up a couple times. I've seen it kind of pop up, but we've added timely and consistent to disciplinary process. And that's all in accordance with the personnel complaints policy. I believe that popped up on one we did pretty recent, the addition of the timely and consistent language. And that was the major update for that particular piece.
Questions there?
Anything?
Okay.
And then this one is Indiana code driven on here where we have state mandated training now that covers mental health. They've added now that as to also include our own mental health. So.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. And those are all the updates, correct?
Those are all the updates, Your Honor.
With that, then, would entertain a motion to approve the policy updates for Lebanon Police Department SOGs as presented. Motion approved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alan. I heard him first. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, those are approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, and the last item here I've got is a surplus item request from the Department of Public Works.
So what I'm here to do is ask you to surplus an old snowplow blade that's obsolete. It doesn't match any of our vehicles anymore, and its estimated value is $200.
Any questions on that from the board? Oh, I see this. With that, would you entertain a motion to surplus?
I make a motion, we surplus the item for the Public Works Street Department for the obsolete snowplow blade as presented.
We have motions. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Dick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, those are approved. I misspoke. Kevin, I saw yours. I had an older agenda in front of me. Kelsey, help me out here. We've got the Cedar Ridge Section 1 surety, or I guess Section 1 and 3 surety release and acceptance as well, and Section 4. So Sections 1, 3, and 4 of those surety releases. So I'll hand it over to you,
Thank
Kevin.
you. I will take them one at a time, section by section. The easiest one first, Cedar Ridge Section 1, they are just asking for release of their performance bond related to monumentation, survey monumentation, and asking for permission to release the performance bond and replace it with a maintenance bond. So that is my recommendation, that you release their performance bonds related to monumentation and accept their maintenance bonds. And we would just ask that you allow staff to work with them administratively to put those bonds at the proper dollar amounts in place.
Questions on that from the board? Okay, would entertain a motion to approve as presented.
I'll make a motion, we approve the release of the bond on Cedar Ridge Section 1,
And replace with the maintenance.
replace with maintenance bond.
Yep. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That's approved. Same with Section 3, I assume?
Yep, Cedar Ridge Section 3, similar action here. We are just proposing that we release performance sureties related to common area sidewalks and streetlights and replace those with appropriate maintenance sureties for corresponding amounts, subject to administrative execution of these items under staff review.
Questions on that from the board? Entertain a motion to approve as presented for Section 3.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, and Section 4 now.
Thank you very much. Section 4 is slightly more complicated, as this is the new section. And so this also would include acceptance of their secondary plat and the appropriate public works dedications associated with that. And with that would also include appropriate performance and or maintenance sureties to protect and guarantee those public infrastructure items. There's a lot of items on here on that report that was sent to you, so I won't bother going through all those at once. Really, I think the appropriate action is just acceptance and approval of their secondary plat and the appropriate sureties.
Any questions, concerns on that from the board? Motion to approve as accepted or as presented for Section 4?
So moved.
Motion to approve as presented for Section 4. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion is adopted. All right, and finally here we have the streetlight installation for Simplicity Neighborhood.
Thank you very much. I am presenting this on behalf of Councilman Kincaid. This was something that was brought to him by a constituent. The Simplicity neighborhood is just east of Grant Street, east of the intersection of Tiger Way and Grant Street, or on the east side of that intersection, it's Essex Drive and Grant Street. And Simplicity includes Essex Drive, Kelsey Rose Court, and Essex Court. And so the constituent has asked that we would consider lighting that subdivision. It was not lighted at the time it was built. And based on our current lighting standards, we would ask that 5 streetlights be installed within that subdivision, subject to funding by City Council. This is an underground electric served subdivision, so this is a little different than the existing policy that allows for streetlights at zero cost to the city to be installed on existing utility poles. So this would be much more substantial in terms of cost. So not only would the city have to incorporate the operational cost of those lights, that would also include the installation cost in this situation to install underground electric decorative poles and fixtures in that subdivision. So again, that would be a council decision based on the funding. So any approval that you would issue to allow for the street lighting to be installed in the public right-of-way would be subject to funding approval by City Council.
So I guess the question I had was, when I was looking at the map, are we sure 5 is, because I mean, were we talking the decorative or the kind of the larger Cobra headlights?
These would be decorative. Yeah, these would be the smaller 15-foot poles and decorative lights.
So do we think 5 is enough? Because I just don't know. If it didn't seem like a lot.
Well, 5 would follow the standard that we require of modern subdivision construction, which is basically one at an entrance, one at intersections, one at the end of cul-de-sacs. If there's a particularly long street, there may be one in the middle. So it doesn't meet any kind of sort of, let's say, foot candle requirement for lighting of a public right-of-way, that you would see on major thoroughfares and collectors. This is the standard that we apply to most neighborhood local streets, which is to light intersections for safety purposes. And so that's the standard that I'm basing this 5 streetlight request on. So will it be as bright as 39 through town? Absolutely not. Will it be consistent with other residential neighborhoods? Absolutely.
Would it be similar to East Street or no?
East Street, it'd be a little less lighting than East Street. East Street, there's a light roughly every 150 feet. And this would be slightly more than that, probably more in the 200-foot range.
I guess I'm struggling with if we're going to do the decorative lights. Again, if we were just doing the normal Cobra lights, I think it makes sense just do the 5, right? The throw a little bit further, but with the decorative, I think we want to think a little bit more on it. I mean, I'm not opposed to approving the approval for us to install lighting there, but I just think from a council perspective, we may need to have some discussions of how many is appropriate versus, because we're obviously doing a bond later this year as well too, and we talked with council to use that to fund some lighting projects in town. So I was wondering if that's kind of wrapped up into that discussion. So I don't know, Dick, if you have any thoughts on.
And just a couple of nuances there. The Cobra head style lights, I don't feel would be appropriate here. There's no existing overhead utilities.
Yep.
So there's not any utility poles that we could easily and rather discreetly mount a light to. So
Yeah, I know.
just for the benefit of the public, I understand that you probably realize that. I would also point out too, that 5 poles roughly equates to about $50,000. So this is not a minor expenditure. This is something that would also need to be considered in your decision as well. Well, the council's decision to fund any project.
I guess, could we make the approval contingent upon finalized plans? I mean, if we want to modify it, that's why I was kind of, if the board had concerns, because I agree, I think streetlights should be there. I mean, we would have required them if it was being built today.
Yes.
So I think there's value to doing it, but I just wanted to, add the possibility of adding more lights than maybe what's being proposed.
Yeah, this was originally built as a private street neighborhood. It was, I'm not for sure exactly when it was dedicated, but sometime prior to this administration, there was a request of the developer for the city to accept this, but it wasn't originally built as public streets. This was a private neighborhood. So the standards of lighting the streets wouldn't have been applied at that time.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
Discussion?
I'll make a motion that we approve it, send it to the council and see if they're willing to fund it at that point. I think from the map that Kevin's got, and knowing the subdivision the way it is, I personally think that's enough. Okay, I think that will work. We have to remember it was a private subdivision years ago, and people wanted to be.
Well, this is why we make private roads being built to city standards regardless today now.
This
so.
is a prime example of why, even if you are building a private subdivision under today's standards, you build
Build it
to
under
public
city.
standards. So,
All right, with that, so we have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from Judge. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that's approved. And I did lie. There's one more item. I apologize. A project award for the fishing pier ramp project.
sorry, it's all on me for adding all these additional items. Abner Longley Fishing Pier, we have constructed the fishing pier. We've constructed the ADA compliant walkway to the fishing pier. And now we've issued a invitation to quote the ADA required railings for that walkway and ramp system. And so we solicited 3 contractors known to do this type of work: ATP Welding, Moore Custom Welding, and MoFab Incorporated. And we received 3 quotes, and the lowest, most responsive and responsible quote is from Moore Custom Welding for $12,669.35. So again, this is all part of the Abner Longley Park Fishing Pier, which is a American Rescue Plan funded project.
Said 12,669, is that correct?
Yes, 12669.35.
Any questions on that from the board? Okay, we'll entertain a motion then to approve that project award as presented.
I make a motion, we approve the fishing pier quote as presented.
Motion approved. Is there a second? Second. Second from Alan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that is approved. All right, that concludes what I have for new business. Anything from the board? Okay, move on to claims. Entertain a motion concerning the claims.
Make a motion, we approve the claims.
Bill thinks we should pay our bills. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, any announcements or discussion? Okay, we entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, our next Board of Works meeting will be December 9th at 5:30 PM. City Council's up next. We are adjourned.